All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Akshay Haldipur, and yes, this is my first time on an academy. I think it's an amazing feeling to be live with all you guys out there. And yes, I mean, this is one of the most awesome type of a platform that I've come across lately. And guys, I think it's very important for you guys to understand that there is a chance for all you guys to contribute some way or the other to this community. And I think you should go ahead and right away download their app, an Academy Editor app, which they have for all the fans and the followers out there. So the Educator app, an Academy Educator app, is right there in the description below, and you could just right away download it and kind of get started and start communicating to the millions of fans that they have on their channels and the website. So there you go. So I guess we have our first, I would say, way of cracking this session, and that would be with the title itself, which very well states out there what it means. It says Bitcoin, every bit counts. Well, the funny part is that very few people actually know about what Bitcoin really is, right? So before I begin and kind of give you guys in this next 10 to 15 minutes what exactly is Bitcoin as a technology, थोड़ी चीज़ आपको समझनी पड़ेगी. ये ज़रूर है कि Bitcoin complex टाइप ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी है. उसकी जो टेक्नोलॉजीज के ऊपर वो है ब्लॉकचेन. वो थोड़े हद तक कंफ्यूजिंग हो सकती है, बाउंसर जा सकती है, लेकिन आई ट्राई टू कीप इट वेरी सिंपल. इन द मीन टाइम, आई थिंक बिफोर आई बिगिन what really this session is going to be all about, let me kind of give you a quick background of what I do and how I have landed up here giving you the gyan on Bitcoin. Alright, so to begin with, from my professional side of what I do currently, I basically kind of I'm a marketing lead for one of India's leading digital companies out there called as Culture Machine. And my forte thoroughly lies in all the digital marketing, the strategies, and the ad operations and everything. So my forte completely relies and is completely into all sorts of things that has to be done for the digital side of things. And now coming to the second part of the point, being how do I land up here giving you all kind of gyan on what Bitcoin really is. See guys, to begin with, my kind of background when it came to the hobby side of things used to be always to do with pen testing, ethical side of so-called ethical hacking that you guys have kind of framed it lately, but for the rest of the world it still ends up being unethical hacking, pen testing, security, and all those kind of stuff. And I've also grown up into I started my early days gaming a lot, so we all gamers back then very well knew the importance of what a GPU was, what an NVIDIA or an ATI Radeon graphic card would do for their CPUs. So today's topic is something very much similar to what it was back 10 to 15 years when we all started with our computing and so-called computation power that we speak about, is very much to do and pertaining to the topic that we are speaking today, right? And that's called as Bitcoin. So now quickly getting to the point of what really Bitcoin is all about, right? So let's break this kind of topic into 5 to 6 pointers, because see this topic in general is very vast. मेरे को पूरा दिन निकल जाएगा, पूरा सैटरडे निकल जाएगा, आपका पूरा सैटरडे निकल जाएगा रिसर्च करने में, और फिर भी हमको जवाब तो एक दिन में मिलेगा नहीं, और सबकी फिर वीकेंड की लग जाएगी. तो लेट्स जस्ट कीप इट वेरी simple, so that you guys get an overview of what this Bitcoin as a technology is all about. So that in a way kind of helps you understand that all that you read about Bitcoins, or all that you have heard about Bitcoins, perhaps maybe in newspapers or from your friends, might not necessarily be the things that you have heard. There is things beyond in this than what people have actually been writing about. So let's quickly get on to that. Alright, so the 4 to 5 things that we will speak about first is what is really a Bitcoin / virtual currencies, because I think in a lot of people's mind they are still confused about भाई ये virtual currencies कैसे हो गई, ये कब launch हुआ, और ये Bitcoin होता क्या है. So first आपका point वो रहेगा. Second point being, after you have decided to get into the whole concept of Bitcoin, how do you start investing in Bitcoins? All right, so that is the second aspect of what really is Bitcoin. I mean, rather, how do you kind of invest in Bitcoins? Third aspect is the security aspect, because a lot of people in today's time have been kind of looking at investing in Bitcoins, but उनको ये पता नहीं कि security layers नहीं maintain करने से आप overnight you can lose all the bitcoins that you have. The fourth aspect is, and the most important aspect is, once you buy the bitcoin, where you got to kind of, what you got to do after you get the bitcoins. Perhaps you have to start trading and buy more other alternate coins with it, and that's where the real process starts. And the fifth and the most important aspect is there a way to kind of take the bitcoin and save it on a hardware aspect, which adds an additional layer of security, which enables you to prevent your bitcoins from being stolen from the hackers who try to maybe perhaps hack your Gmail accounts or your personal accounts and take away all the coins, and perhaps kind of let you bankrupted overnight in a single transaction. All right, so let's just begin with the first aspect. What really is a Bitcoin, and how do we kind of just a sec, I'll just kind of get started right away with this whole thing, because there are a lot of things that are coming on the screen. All right, guys. So in general, what really is a Bitcoin, or a kind of a cryptocurrency, right? Now, ideally, there was nothing that was ever meant to come in the first place. In this case, it being the virtual currencies. Now, when I say what's a virtual currency, this all began almost in 2008 when Satoshi Nakamoto, the unofficial creator of Bitcoin, actually stated that he never wanted to build anything like a currency. All that he wanted to build was a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Thereon, his invention led to an extreme level of invention, which was then called as the decentralized digital cash wallet. All right. Now, if you go to see, his idea was never to make something in specific like a currency. It was a side product of an already existing invention, which was your the peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Now, when you look at something like this, it's very important for one to understand that Bitcoin back in 2008 was something close to a $0.0008, and today, as I speak, it's close to around $3,000. It has kind of grown 1,000 times more than any other currency out there, and that's the only reason. I would say the biggest reason being that this is kind of because it's a decentralized system. There is no bank attached to it, so the transactions can happen irrespective of two individuals staying in two different continents. It just happens, in a matter of seconds. So I think it's very important for all of us to understand that Bitcoin, although it started as a mode for a lot of people to kind of send money across their different wallets that today we have, the so-called wallets where we kind of store these currencies. It also is a mechanism with which not just coins can be exchanged. I mean, when I say coins, doesn't necessarily mean that money should be exchanged. It could be any form of data. It could be perhaps an encrypted email, or it could be a certain type of a document. It's all a part of a P2P exchange system, and it's just that the money aspect has kind of come out too much in the zone. So people have already started to believe that money is the only thing that this kind of a concept is really all about. But there are things beyond this. You could have automated cars, automated you could kind of set a lot of things in the P2P aspects of it. So that in general is kind of a Bitcoin and a virtual currency. Second aspect being, where do you really start your day with? I mean, if you have X amount of money in your account and you really want to go one step further and kind of invest in these kind of things, does it really make sense for you to look at the cliche and the more traditional ways of perhaps investing? That could be an SIP or a mutual funds or your PPFs and so on. While there does exist a very similar type of a model that has been running since quite some time now, and it's called as your stock market, your share market, and whatever you may call that. But this is pretty much similar to that, and both these mediums are heavily dependent on the kind of sentiments that are spreading in the ecosystem that can take the prices up down in a matter of seconds. So perhaps to get started with the second point as to if you have X amount of money, where do you get started from? Well, there are a couple of websites, such as, or rather, I would say in the more technical term, the exchanges where or the wallets that you can begin with. Perhaps the first being, the Unicoin. The second being Zepway. Now, these are the popular websites that people usually prefer to kind of have their investments put in and buy bitcoins at an X amount of money. I think as I speak, the price of one bitcoin currently is around close to 2 lakh rupees. So that's the kind of investments a lot of people look at. So perhaps you should right away head to these websites, register yourself. There is a sign up model which you can get onto, and perhaps start investing on a smaller scale. I would not say go out there and spend heavy, but look at the way that these that other people are kind of investing, and perhaps head to these two portals. One is the Unicoin, and the second is Zepway. That is the kind of portals you should currently be looking at, because there is certain type of restrictions that for Indians to perhaps buy bitcoins from external websites which are outside of India, because of a lot of the taxation issues and and kind of routing money outside of India. So there are some complications onto that. But yes, spending a bit premium in buying these bitcoins should really kind of get you started from somewhere. At least that's what I believe. So we have kind of covered 2 points. First is what really is a virtual coin, what really is a Bitcoin. They are perhaps the same kind of a concept. Second being, if you have the money, then how do you start or begin your journey from investing? I would say to begin with, perhaps even 1 or 2 Bitcoin is enough for you to get started. All right. The third is the security aspects. Now, a lot of people don't really understand that a lot of it is in today's time hackable when it comes to digital. Accounts get hacked, websites get hacked, and most of these of your assets which you have kind of bought reside on these platforms. So if not you, the platforms where you have stored them can be hackable, and it's very easy for it to kind of get hacked overnight, and all that stuff can then kind of be completely traded off to different accounts, and you will be bankrupted overnight. So that's very important aspect that you have to take into consideration. So security layer is something that you have to take into account from day one when you get into this whole concept of trading. Now there is one layer which they have attached, and which a lot of people out there have been heavily investing in, is the hardware wallet. Which there are 3 topmost hardware wallets out there. One is the Ledger Blue, Ledger Nano S, and the third is the Trezor. Now these are the hardware wallets where a lot of people can actually have it stored on their personal hardware. They are like the small USB devices which you can get, and perhaps you can save a lot of your coins on there, and they perhaps support many other out there. So these are the ways that you can perhaps support it. Also, the second most important aspect is always kind of turn on your 2auth process, wherein it kind of there is a personalized code which you can put in, maybe a 6-digit code, which the username and password is not just enough for the person to log in. He has to kind of add in a second authorization level, and most of the websites now kind of provide it. You can even download the app Google Auth, and these are the kind of apps which kind of add the second layer of security to your website. So to your wallet perhaps. So that's the third aspect of it. The fourth and the most important is, while we understand what is a Bitcoin and how it can be traded and how things can be bought, one thing to understand is what is the technology behind Bitcoin. Now the technology behind Bitcoins is nothing but blockchain. Now blockchain is a very complex model which kind of works on a distributed network system, wherein a sender has to send X amount of money to a receiver, and when a sender sends X amount of money to a receiver, unlike the traditional way of how transactions happen, wherein a person sends the money, it goes to the bank, it checks if you have the balance, and it kind of goes ahead. There is only one particular mediator that is involved. Whereas when it comes to a kind of a Bitcoin and a blockchain kind of a concept, money can be sent between 2 people. But when the blockchain as a concept comes in, it is a collection of millions of computers out there which are connected in a network format, which kind of give the complete I would say stamp on how legit the transaction is. and it has to be then calculated by and kind of be okayed by across all the other nodes that are connected to it. And then once the sanctioning is done by different nodes that are part of the network, then does the transaction actually go ahead. It was also built to kind of prevent double payments, that simultaneous payments that used to happen by mistake, and that kind of eases the whole process of the transparency of transactions happening between one person to the other. So blockchain as a concept is a very complex model. Blockchains cannot be hacked, only for the reason being that you need more than 50 to 52% of more GPU power to actually get into the victim's blockchain and its processor. So blockchain as a concept is very strong. So all that can be hacked is your account or the exchanges where you saved. Blockchain in general are literally not hackable. So that is the technology. You guys should kind of check out a lot of websites like coinbase.com, which give a lot of information about what really bitcoins and blockchain technology is all about, just to give you guys a better perspective about what this session is all about. So one is that the fourth aspect is a lot of people, even after this this might sound a bit complicated as a session, and perhaps a lot of things might just be going bouncer for you guys because there's a lot to speak about. But in the smallest of info gathering that I have kind of got over a period of time, if I had to share with you guys, is that a lot of people end up buying bitcoins, and then they think that buying bitcoins is everything. Actually, the game really begins from there. Once you have bought bitcoins, it's kind of the real game begins from there, because there are many other coins that you need to kind of buy. Now Google as a company has invested in kind of one of the topmost competing coins out there apart from Bitcoin is the Ripple. So there are many other coins there apart from Bitcoin. There is a Ripple, there is Dash, there is Monero, there is BAT, and there are various, there is Ethereum, there is Ethereum Classics. So these are the kind of coins that have been competing with Bitcoin on a larger scale, and they might even surpass them in the few months to come. So important aspect is, once you have bought Bitcoins, it's kind of very useless as a strategy to just keep them in your wallet and not do anything about it. You got to keep them and then start trading. You got to start trading in a way, means you got to explode that Bitcoin into different small minuscule amounts, and perhaps buy larger quantity of cheaper coins, and try and see if you can make your portfolio big. Now, where does this happen? This doesn't happen on your wallets like Zepway or your Unicoin. These are the places where you kind of buy Bitcoins. These are called those wallets. Where you go to do these tradings are these exchanges. Now, some of the topmost exchanges out there that I can name a couple of them perhaps would be a Polynix and kind of a Bittrex. Now, these two kind of platforms help you kind of extend your portfolio by cheaper, perhaps not cheaper in that sense, but then kind of these are legit websites where you can buy different types of coins and kind of perhaps increase the value of your Bitcoin from maybe a 1 to maybe a 6 in a short duration of time. So in totality, if I have to speak about what's the the future of Bitcoins, there are a lot of critics out there who say like this is a cheap way of earning money. I think this is not really a cheap way of earning money. This is having a sure, I would say, a lot of people who have the digital and the technology, knowledge, have the advantage over the others who are not in the whole zone of the Bitcoins, because it's very important for you to be tech savvy in this kind of thing. Yes, it is very similar to how the traditional trade market and your stock exchanges work, but you got to understand technology to some extent. I'm not saying understand how the blockchain technology works, but you got to be understanding the sentiments, what really gives rise to what. And while many other countries out there have already started to legalize Bitcoins as an official currency that people could trade in, but unlike India, India just said a few weeks back that they leave it to people and for them to poll as to if Bitcoins can really work out there in the market or no. So there are many other countries like us too who are still a bit skeptical about what Bitcoin's future is all about. So I think just to wrap up this 19-minute video, I'll just kind of try to do a quick recap. The first being what really is a Bitcoin and a virtual currency. The second being once you have the Bitcoin, where you got to look out and go ahead and kind of purchase these bitcoins. To name the two, Unicoin and ZepPay are the couple of ones. The third is the security layer. It's not necessary that just because you bought the bitcoins online they are safe. You got to buy a hardware ledger. To name the three, Ledger Blue, Ledger Nano S, and your Trezor. These are the three most renowned ones that people use. The fourth aspect is just because you bought a Bitcoin, you don't become a millionaire overnight. You got to increase your portfolio by buying other coins out there and start trading and make that one BTC into 10 perhaps in a period of 6 to 10 months. So that also is very important. And the fifth aspect is read a lot on Bitcoins, because it's one of the most complex things to understand. If you just think that मैं किसी दोस्त को पूछ लूंगा भाई वो मेरे लिए पैसे इन्वेस्ट कर देगा, it's not that easy, because even he needs to understand the whole technology front on a larger scale. So I think from whatever little that I could share with you guys, because there's too much to speak and I can't, and there are time constraints, I want to keep this short. So I think, yeah, that's about it, and I hope I have not kind of made this too complex to sound, because I might have missed some things or the other. But if there are any, then I'm sure that you could kind of reach out to an academy and perhaps you could help solve a couple of questions if they are too complex in nature. So that's what this whole session was all about. I hope you guys had a nice time, and hope to catch you all soon. See you.